good morning, good afternoon and good evening everybody. It's Lee from Magnetic North Magnet Fishing. So today I'm going to be doing a history walk in the Riverlin Valley, Sheffield, where there used to be old mills, tool works, things like that. So I'm not going to show you the whole walk because it's a very long one, but what I will do is I'll show you points along the way. So this here is the start of the walk. It's just come down from Stannington to Nethergate and down into the Riverlin Valley. And this pathway here to the locals is known as Many Stones Way because there is literally loads and loads of old stones put in there. So if we just come down this way, we've got the Riverlin River at the side of us there, very shallow, and then we've got some mill ruins just here, and these date from the 18th century. And just up here we've got the old steps up, and I'll just show you this bit because it's the start of the main walk. So this here is a place called Riverlin Dams, just there, and this used to be a mill pond back in the 1800s, and some in this valley quite possibly as far back as to medieval and Tudor times, which is the 1500s. So there was old pack horse route along here as well, and they'd have travelled along here bringing salt from Cheshire in the 14, 15, 1600s, and there would have been local cattle brought down here as well. So I'm going to turn off to the next point and I'll show you that in a short while. So again, locally, this tree here is known as catapult tree because kids used to tie rope around it, so it used to look like a catapult. Now as we travel along, you can see the old stonework. Those are reused from old mills, and then you've got this causeway area here and a bridge. So here we've got a weir, and this would have been powering a water wheel at one time, and all around here there'd have been small scale buildings. I assume the building was on that bit of a field at the back, but I'm not quite sure. So as you come round this modern bit, that's also part of the original weir down here. And this is a mill race and an old bridge. Down there, many years ago, there was mill wheels found dating from the 1700s. Just here is another mill pond, quite silted up over the years, and the river continues on my right. Now there is quite a few benches along the way, and this is one of the old millstones that was found just up the valley that I showed you a moment ago. So this valley would have been used for many years, even before the mills and the tool works ever existed. And it's known that it was a boundary during the Anglo-Saxon Viking times around about the 10th century. So this particular river would have been used to water horses and stock with cattle, things like that. And just as we get up here, we've got this area, often floods, where the water comes out and across the path, and this drain that's being made into the river. But as I say, it does often flood, and it is quite slippery and very muddy, as you can see. That's So as we walk down the valley, we've got various features that you'll notice along the way. And one of the common things you'll see in this area is the reuse of old stone that's been used to shore up the walls along the way. And now we're just getting to a point, and this is where Swallow Wheel used to be. So just at the back here, I'll show you around here as well. You can't really see much because it is all literally just overgrown, but this here is where the factories and the mills used to be. And just at the back there you can see some of the original stonework wall, which is just there. Now what I will do as well is I will put dates of when these features were in use onto the video as text. And we've just come to a causeway. Many stones from the old buildings that's been reused. And in this area, just on that embankment, there was actually very early medieval millstone wheels found and fragments of, and there's even been mill wheels and grinding wheels as far back as the Roman and Iron Age period, so 100 BCE to roughly 250 AD. Now there is a lot of natural ironstone in this area, and that would have been a workable source. And locally the ironstone is known as carstone. It's very low grade iron, but it was enough to start a bit of smelt up. Now this is the location of where another wheel used to stand, and some old mill ruins, and they can be seen just up there in that wall. You wouldn't know unless you knew it was there. Now in this particular area there has been artifacts found from the medieval and Tudor times, and in the Victorian Edwardian times, 1880 to 1910, children used to sit on this rock and just admire the wildlife in the area. Now across the river there, which has now got debris against it, that was an area known as the Stepping Stones, and it used to go up over the river onto this land above. Now there is here very old farmland, and there used to be more mill buildings on that side, now all private, so you can't go that way anymore. But amongst this section here, there has been prehistoric wood fragments found as well. So you do get bits of glass, you do get bits of pottery. It's always worth a look to see what's around. There's the stepping stones. And this spot was called the Plonk Wheel. This is the remains of where the mill used to be. So there we are on that one, 1737. And it was abandoned in 1852. And just past the Plonk Wheel and mill, you've got this small weir that leads round, and you can either go up that way or you can go around the old pond, which is just here. And I'm going to go around the old pond area and show you. So this area here in the middle is known as the Islands, and that washes bits up as well. It is a good mudlarking area. Now this particular pond, I have in the past seen fishermen on it, but I'm not sure if that still happens now, because it's a number of years since I've been here. And the river on this side naturally flowing. There is, I can see in there, a line. Unfortunately, I have no access to get to that. So somebody's probably been fly fishing in the past. So a beautiful hidden valley this, and it's certainly one of those areas of Sheffield that you appreciate, and you certainly feel better after a walk down this valley. As we get around the corner of that big fishing pond, mill dam, was where the hind wheel used to stand, and just over here there's a little bit about it. There we are, the hind wheel. 1581, and by the 1820s there were 2 water wheels, each driving 6 grinding wheels. Bent over these wheels, men ground cutlery to shape. In the 1830s, 6 of the 12 grinding wheels were used to shape metal inserts for women's corsets. The water wheels kept working until the 1920s and was then disused. And they was on this section just over here. And that they was basically powering a big mill. This up here would lead to where more mills were, and a factory stood down that way. So this is where the water power was getting driven from here and down that way. And there's the rest of the river as it comes round there. Now down here, just below where the heavy power of the water wheels used to be, they had a special construction for the wall. And if you look at the wall here, how it's all shaped up like that, and again larger bits over there, that was to actually stop it being battered and broken down. With the power, that would have come under here. When this is in full flood, you cannot even stand on this section. And you can see how old the trees are that's grown through the wall as well. And just up there, on the lower bit, we've got where another mill used to be as well. We've got a couple of ducks there in the valley as well, enjoying the water. This building here is brick. That used to be where the Home Guard were. They patrolled this area. And just at the back, you've got this area here. And there used to be an old factory grinding mill there. And there's remains of air raid shelters in there. Just down there. And there's platforms from where people used to grow food in the old allotments. And that was supplied to areas of Sheffield during World War II. Now, as you can see, the water is quite clear, and it just seemed to be pollution free, which is a wonderful thing. Now, as you continue along the path, you're getting near to the main road where the bridge used to be, and I'm about to show you a hidden treasure for Sheffield, and it's this big concrete barrel, and on top of that there's a little iron pin, and this is where a spigot mortar, 18-pound spigot mortar, British Home Guard issue, was used during World War II. Now, the actual mortar itself has moved position because the mortar battery was actually located just up there on that little platform, and the trees wouldn't have been there at the time, and that was basically to aim over to the main road down here in case of invasion, and that had an effective range of 200 yards. So that puts you just about to where the bridge is and the road at the side. Now, as you get closer to the bridge, you can see it's a beautiful construction, and just around the corner there was another wheel, and there's a little history board here about it, which is this area just here, and this was the upper cut wheel, and it was established in 1749. The upper cut wheel was used for cutlery grinding until the 1930s. In the early 20th century, visitors could hire rowing boats and enjoy swing boats located here. So this used to be an old house, but it used to have swing boats in there in the 20s as a small amusement park, and your rowing boats would have been for use in this particular bit of river when it was obviously a bit higher in flood. Now, this particular area here, you can see where the wheel would have been, and here is where the mounting brackets used to be for the wheel, and the wheel used to stand just here. No remains whatsoever of it now. And then we've got the culvert that goes under the road, just there, made of brick. This is where the swing boats used to be, but previously this was also part of a mill building, and just here is where the range used to be, or the stove. Just to show where we are, we're now officially in the Riverlin Valley. Before was just the outskirts. And just here is another mill pond, and this was to a site that had water power as well, and that was the never cut wheel. Just there, never cut wheel. And we're just coming to an area. You've got mill race on your right again, river on the left, and this here is another weir that powered water wheels. All down here. You can see the force that would have been. So just up there is the ruins of an old building, and what that used to be was another grinding works, and that used to employ a great number of people. Sadly the ruins have actually been graffitied, but that's where a lot of people used to work. So we'll just continue down the valley a little bit more. And there is so many places that you can just sit down and enjoy the area, a bit of peace and tranquility. Gives you a lot of thinking space. So we've got this bridge here, which is a modern construction, and down there there is bits of stones that would have been from the mills. You do occasionally see a kingfisher as well, swooping up and down this valley. So where we are is Little London Wheel. Now this was 1752. With part of the stream, a person called Robert Greaves for 21 years, and erected a cutler's wheel, and by 1903 the wheel was in ruins but demolished by 1911. And that actually stood, the factory was just here. This is where that used to be, and you can still see evidence in the form of the old bricks on site. And all here, this used to be part of the works. Now this one was quite a busy mill, and it did employ a number of people, and there is evidence around of pottery and glass even in the water. So somewhere here there would have been a dump as well for the site itself, as we can see there, bits of pottery. So the wheel would have been just down there powering all that, and just here you see the bright natural orange in the soils. And this here It's an original fitting, Victorian 1860s, from what held the sluice gate and the weir water wheel. Now this looks deep, but it isn't that deep. And then there's more evidence of bricks and things, but lovely colours around. That plateau up there near the road, there used to be a lot more buildings that stood up that way as well, and that they was also part of a grinding works. And then you've got this walled off area, which was another area. So this valley 100 to 150 years ago would have been so busy, it would have just been factories, mills, grinding works, tool works, blacksmiths all around here. And some of those was even coal fired stoves in there, and a lot used the natural wood that was around. So loads and loads of work and industry went on, and now this area is almost the silent valley. You do get a lot of walkers and ramblers, a few cyclists. It's still very nice. So this pond here, this used to be another site. You got part of the fittings there. Again, you've got benches to sit and enjoy the area. And this was Home Head Wheel. First recorded use of the site was in 1742, when it was leased to Nicholas Morton and William Shaw for grinding cutlery and razors. By 1936, this site was disused and abandoned. And this here is part of the original works. And there's a notice board all about it. So this shows you the layout of where the wheels and works used to be. So what we've actually got here is this is what the buildings would have looked like that stood here. And there's some original pictures here of what it looked like and people working the site. There we go. If you want to read this, you can always pause the video. There we go as well. And a bit about the grinding process. Just there. Now, this site is just above where I were, and it's got brick built buildings, and it's quite well laid out with troughs and things like that up here. And it's said that this area was allotments during the 1920s, 1930s. And these bricks here are the remains of greenhouses and sheds. And back onto the river, you're following it down, you come across another bench, and purpose-built steps and a partly sunken stepping stones area. Lots of areas to sit here. And then we've got this area here, which is a unusual shaped weir that comes down and then races down over some natural rocks. This was the purposely built bit of natural there, and then down to this. And in the centre you can see where the trough would have been, that would have held a couple of wheels. Down there. And then you've got old allotments of Riverlin Valley. And just down there, that's where the outfall used to be from the dam at the back. And then you've got a lovely old bridge there, stone built, going over the river to what would have gone to factories and mills over that way. And I'll be taking there in a second. So, sun's out, absolutely beautiful. There we are, there's the river. And just over here was the site of Roscoe Wheel. So you're now walking down into where all the works buildings used to be. Roscoe Wheel. And this particular site, 1727, the Roscoe Wheel was employed mainly in the fender and saw grinding trade. The site was used until at least 1922, but by 1936 it's recorded as disused and derelict. So I'll just show you around the actual site itself and the works. So all this area here would have been the works, and then you've got this old grindstone which would have been hand chipped, hand carved stonework. I'm not sure what it was, but it would have served a purpose. Would have had potential writing on that. And then as you come over here, we've got a very large bit here, and this would have been part of the housing for a wheel. And some more buildings that would have stood there. And then you've got this bit, and this is the wheel pit. So right here you'd have actually had a wheel turning with water, and you can see down there where metal would have been holding it all together. And just around here, the groove of where the wheel used to fit in and used to turn, and the stone sockets there. Now this is one of few sites that you can actually see where the wheel really was. And then you've got a bit of a drive building at the side. And more buildings at the back here. And what is now a footpath that goes up and over the top. Now this tree here has been used for graffiti over the years. People visiting. It's not right, but it happens. And then you've got the odd old brick on site. So all this again would have been a very, very busy industrial zone. And just here, I don't know what that stone's hanging there for, but that's been purposely put on onto this twine. Odd. So again, just walking around, this would all be now inside the building. All this was part of the works as well, and this here, and then it comes out on this side, just outside of the building, with another mill race down there. And here we've got a broken grind wheel, and you can see where the knives and things used to be sharpened, and this here is the socket where it used to be fitted. At one time this valley was covered with bits of industrial heritage like that. Sadly it's disappearing fast. Now just over here got a local art sculpture known as the Iron Throne, and it's just over there. And when the water's low, you can go across these stones carefully, and people do sit right there on the Iron Throne and just rest. But if the water's a bit higher, there is a bench as well that you can sit on, so it's always good. And just over there, that's the site of New Dam, and that was also a works, and this is the pond bay. Now surprisingly, there was so much work in this valley, you'd have thought there'd been evidence other than the ruins of stonework, but there isn't. There's very, very little metal evidence in that water, and the reason being to that is that it was actually all collected up during the dismantling process and taken away and sadly melted down. And just over here is another hidden gem for Sheffield, and not many know about it. But just up here, you see where the portcullis is, that led into the little cliff face, and it's said that that was an old ironstone mine. So if I zoom into it, you can see it is actually concrete and fenced off, but it doesn't really go anywhere, and there's a bit of concrete above it, but there's not really much access to it across here. So we're not actually sure what that was originally for. I personally don't think it was a mine. And then it comes around. Such a beautiful area to picnic in this area. Wildlife, birds cheeping, and it comes across this new bridge here, and plenty of signposts saying where you're going. And this is where Spooner's Wheel used to be, dating from at least 1637. It's one of the oldest wheels in the area. So this is the Riverlin Valley, just there, and near the end of the walk and at this particular wheel site you've got a cafe, outdoor seating and indoor, and you've got public toilets there as well. So just a little bit about the area. All the different wheels that were used and the locations of them all there, all the way up here. And basically we started down at number 14 there, and 15 was the main point, so that was actually the wolf wheel where we started, but as you see it does go down a bit further as well. There we go. That is actually real. It's a heron waiting in the water there. So that was a walk down the Riverlin Valley in Sheffield. So I hope you enjoyed that one. It was just something a bit different. Until next time, this is Lee from Magnetic North Magnet Fishing. Thanks again. Bye for now.